A man named Ben Miller stands alone inside a strange chamber that is slowly squeezing inward, the walls creeping closer with every passing moment. He frantically searches the space for any hint or hidden mechanism that might free him, but nothing he tries manages to stop the relentless movement around him. With no solution revealing itself, the room eventually seals completely, leaving him crushed and lifeless. Who Ben truly is, and what bizarre chain of events dragged him into this deadly trap, is a story that needs to be told from the start. Everything began 3 days earlier, deep within the bustling city of Chicago. In another part of the city, a young woman named Zoe sits quietly in her physics lecture, her notebook open while the teacher wraps up the final class before winter break. As the bell rings and students begin gathering their belongings, the professor calls Zoe over for a private word. He gently tells her that although she is exceptionally intelligent, she freezes whenever she must speak in front of others. He advises her not to allow her fears to dominate her life and encourages her to spend the upcoming break doing something that challenges and ultimately strengthens her confidence. Elsewhere, a man named Jason works at a firm that claims to offer expert guidance on stock market decisions. He has built up a grand image of himself and likes to believe he is the Harshad Mehta of his entire field. One afternoon, a client phones him and says that a special gift is being sent his way. Later, when the package arrives, Jason opens it to find a small, strange-looking box. He dismisses it as junk, sets it aside without giving it much thought, and heads home for the night. Meanwhile, the same Ben from the fatal room scene works for a shipping and packaging company, spending his days performing routine tasks. One day he approaches his supervisor to ask for a salary increase, hoping for some improvement in his stagnant life. Instead of agreeing, his boss tells him he should try stepping outside his comfort zone and socializing more, insisting that isolating himself will only keep him stuck where he is. The following day, Zoe's roommate is preparing to leave for the holiday break when she notices a parcel that their professor apparently sent for Zoe. Inside it lies the same kind of small, mysterious box that Jason received earlier. That next morning, when Ben arrives at his workplace, he discovers an identical box resting on his desk. A small card accompanies it, carrying a message that reads, "This is the only way to escape from this job." Opening the boxes turns out to be surprisingly challenging, but eventually all of them manage to solve whatever locking mechanism holds each one shut. Inside every box is a card that lists an address and states that the card will serve as an entry pass for something called the Minos escape room. A woman named Amanda also arrives at the designated location for the escape experience. The receptionist informs her that no mobile phones are allowed, explaining that participants might photograph the puzzles. The receptionist also cheerfully mentions that Amanda's military background will surely come in handy. While riding up in the elevator, Amanda meets a young man named Danny, who casually reveals that he always carries a backup phone. When the elevator doors open, she enters a room where several other people are seated. Among them is a man named Mike, a professional truck driver who has joined the challenge in hopes of winning the $10,000 cash prize that was advertised. One by one, everyone introduces themselves, and together they realize there are 6 players in total. A sheet of paper lies on one of the tables. The group expects that someone will soon appear to explain the rules of the game, but they are unaware that the game has already begun. Ben casually remarks that until the game master arrives, he intends to step outside for a cigarette. However, when he tries to use the doorknob detaches and falls into his hand. While they attempt to reattach it, Ben suddenly realizes what is happening and tells the others that the escape room challenge has already started, and they must begin searching for clues or coded messages right away. The group begins examining the surroundings carefully. Mike flips through a book and discovers a hidden screwdriver tucked inside. Zoe inspects the markings on the book and notices a number sequence. When she enters that sequence into a lock mechanism, the heaters embedded in the walls activate simultaneously. Confused and alarmed, they knock on the glass window and beg for help. A calm female voice from behind the glass instructs them to sit down and says that assistance will arrive soon, though the tone feels rehearsed and insincere. Ben suggests breaking the glass, but before they can attempt it, additional heaters inside several pillars switch on as well, intensifying the temperature rapidly. Zoe continues searching the space and discovers a key. It fits the glass door from which the receptionist's voice seemed to come. Inside that small room stands a statue, and once again the same recorded voice repeats the instruction to sit and wait, offering no real guidance. A nearby phone begins to ring, and Jason answers it. The voice on the line instructs them to follow all the provided rules, though none have actually been given, leaving them more frustrated. More heat sources activate, and the room grows unbearably hot. Amanda begins panicking as the rising heat overwhelms her, so Zoe hands her a glass of water to help her calm down. While doing so, Zoe notices a message written on the table requesting Dr. Wooten to always use coasters. She presses the coaster down, triggering a mechanism that lifts a painting and reveals a hidden exit behind it. Jason steps forward to inspect the opening and announces that he has found their escape route. He asks Mike to hand him the screwdriver, and then Mike follows him inside the small passage. Jason manages to remove a ventilation grate, revealing a path upward. They agree to send Amanda first, but a dilemma occurs. If they all climb one at a time, someone must remain behind to hold the coaster down. To make matters worse, 4 coasters require activation, not just one. Zoe hurries out, grabs water-filled glasses, and sets one on each coaster. 3 of them work, but they are short 1 glass since Amanda emptied hers earlier. The gas burner also turns on, heightening the urgency. Ben quickly pours alcohol into the empty glass until it fills enough to activate the final pressure trigger. The vent opens entirely, allowing all of them to escape just in time before the room becomes deadly. Once they all manage to crawl through the vent and drop into the next space, they argue about how absurd and dangerous this so-called escape room has become. Jason insists that the $10,000 reward is worth the struggle and refuses to give up. They notice another door. Jason attempts to open it, while Amanda asks Danny to lend his extra phone so she can contact the police. But despite trying, they discover there is absolutely no mobile signal. With no help available, they start examining the room for more clues. A decorative board reads, "Your name will be immortal in history." Ben inspects the text and identifies hidden fragments that he rearranges into a meaningful name. When he enters it, the door unlocks. They step through and are shocked to find themselves in what looks like a snowy outdoor landscape. As soon as everyone enters, the door behind them seals shut. The cold air bites at their skin, and they struggle to comprehend how a building interior could open into what appears to be a frozen wilderness. Danny walks ahead but collides with an invisible barrier, collapsing backward. They soon realize the snowfield is part of a massive illusion created by screens. Danny touches the giant digital surface, accidentally activating another system that drastically lowers the temperature. Icy wind begins blasting through vents, and the environment becomes dangerously cold. Danny urges everyone to split up and search for clues before they all succumb to the freezing conditions. Mike discovers a fishing rod partially buried under fake snow. Jason announces that he located a locked door that requires a key to open. They count their group, 6 people, but only 1 winter jacket lies in the snow. Amanda quickly hands it to Zoe, telling her she will need it more. While they move around, Ben's foot plunges through a fishing hole hidden beneath loose snow. He cries out that he can no longer feel his leg. Danny suggests the missing clue might be underwater. Mike approaches with the fishing rod, and Ben sarcastically asks whether Mike plans to sit around fishing in this cold. Mike warns him sharply to watch his tone. Zoe rummages through the jacket and finds a compass. The needle directs her toward a statue of a polar bear sculpted in ice. She investigates its mouth and retrieves a magnet lodged inside. They attach the magnet to the rod and lower it into the fishing hole. After several attempts, they manage to pull up a metal clasp frozen inside a block of ice, and within the ice they can see a small key. They try smashing the ice, but it refuses to break. Desperate, they ask Ben for his lighter. He tosses it to Danny, but as Danny leans over the opening to collect it, Danny plunges into the freezing water. They rush to help him, but the current pulls him under, and he vanishes from sight. The lighter sinks with him. With Danny gone, they must decide whether to grieve or fight for survival. Jason warns that hypothermia will cloud their minds and kill them if they do not act quickly. They hold the ice block close to their bodies to melt it using their combined warmth. Hours seem to pass. Jason retrieves the melted key but cannot remember where the door was. They search frantically until they find it again. They insert the key, but the latch clicks somewhere else, revealing the actual exit on the opposite side. The ground beneath them begins cracking, forcing them to run. They reach the new door and tumble through it just before the floor collapses entirely. The compartment they enter rises upward like an elevator. As it ascends, they realize the entire room is upside down, with ceiling tiles functioning as the floor and furniture attached above them. Strange, playful music echoes through the space. Mike comments that the 8-ball is missing from the pool table mounted overhead. Before they can process this, pieces of the inverted floor begin falling. They cling to any stable structure they can reach. Amanda climbs toward the highest point, searching for anything that might offer a clue. She finds a safe but cannot figure out its combination. Meanwhile, Zoe spots an illuminated puzzle panel. She begins working on it with Mike shouting guidance from below. As the puzzle progresses, more pieces of flooring loosen and crash down. Jason shouts that unless Mike releases his grip, all 3 of them might fall to their deaths. Zoe slips and plummets to the lower level. Jason rushes down and helps revive her before she climbs back to safety. Then she realizes the trick. The entire room is inverted, so the code must be entered backwards or upside down. She tells Amanda, who enters the reversed combination. This time the safe opens, revealing the missing 8-ball. She moves quickly but precariously while dangling from tables and light fixtures. The ball slips out of her pocket, and she leaps after it in an act of desperation. She catches it midair, tosses it to Jason, but then the platform beneath her gives way. She grabs onto a dangling phone wire, but the cord snaps. She falls into the abyss below, dying instantly. Jason attaches the 8-ball to the correct place near the top of the doorframe, not into the pool table, and a new exit opens. They step into another room tied intimately to their past lives. A loud announcement warns them not to rely on food, water, or sleep to define life and instructs them to push themselves beyond normal limits. A 5-minute countdown activates. Cameras monitor their every move, and Zoe begins smashing them, refusing to let whoever is orchestrating the game observe them. Jason believes the room will release poisonous gas after 3 minutes. Ben notices they resemble EKG patterns. Jason locates a functioning EKG machine nearby. He checks Ben's heart rate, normal. Then he tries Mike, whose reading skyrockets to an impossible number. Jason insists that the challenge must involve raising the heart rate even higher. Despite Mike pleading with him to stop, Jason shocks him with electrical paddles. Mike's heart rate increases briefly, but when Jason shocks him again, Mike dies. The allotted time expires, and toxic fumes hiss through the vents. Jason quickly tests the EKG on himself and realizes the real objective is not to raise his heart rate but to lower it. He holds his breath, slows his heartbeat, drops it to around 50, and completes the deadly task. A small door opens for him, allowing him to escape. With the poisonous gas spreading, Ben rushes over to Zoe and begs her to come with him through the exit, but she refuses to leave. Instead, she continues breaking every visible camera in the room, determined to disrupt the surveillance controlling them. Ben reluctantly escapes alone as the small door seals behind him, and Zoe collapses unconscious from the fumes. Ben feels a heavy guilt for abandoning Zoe, though Jason coldly remarks that Zoe made her own choice and he should not blame himself. They move onward through the maze of traps, hunting desperately for another exit. Eventually they locate a metal valve on the wall, and when they twist it, a strange liquid smears across their hands. Within minutes, Ben and Jason begin hallucinating intensely, unable to trust their own senses. As they stumble around in paranoia, Ben, angered and confused, punches the wall in frustration. To his shock, his fist shatters a hidden compartment containing a single antidote syringe. The antidote is meant for only one person. Both men realize they cannot share it. A chaotic fight breaks out between them as the hallucinations worsen. During the struggle, Ben manages to land a heavy blow that leaves Jason dazed. Ben injects himself with the antidote, clearing his senses just enough to continue. Ben staggers through another doorway and finds himself entering a room he recognizes, the very same death chamber from the beginning of the story where the walls crush inward. A sliding lock mechanism sits on the wall, requiring 4 numbers to align properly. Ben frantically manipulates the numbers, trying to stay ahead of the advancing walls. Meanwhile, back in the gas-filled room where Zoe collapsed, 2 employees wearing protective suits enter to clean up and reset the area. One sees an oxygen mask hanging loosely and wonders aloud what might have happened inside. At that moment, Zoe regains consciousness and rasps, "I breathed," revealing that she had managed to survive by inhaling from the hidden mask. She leaps up, overwhelms both workers with swift, desperate attacks, and takes their gun. Armed and determined, Zoe races out of the room to find Ben. As Ben battles the sliding lock while the walls squeeze the chamber dangerously close, he suddenly dives into the fireplace alcove as flames ignite around him. He uses the burning chute as temporary protection and crawls upward through it, emerging into a dim corridor that leads to the facility's main control center. Inside the control room sits a man dressed in black, waiting calmly. He greets Ben and invites him to sit. Ben snarls and spits out accusations, calling him the monster who orchestrated all the cruel trials designed to kill them. The man responds that he is merely the game master, not the true architect of the elaborate death puzzles. Ben demands the prize money and insists that he survived fair and square. He then attempts to strangle Ben using a garrote wire. Before the wire can finish the job, Zoe bursts into the room and fires the gun at the attacker. She misses, but the man retreats and tries to ambush her from the shadows. Ben intervenes, wrestling with the game master until he finally kills him in the struggle. Together, Zoe and Ben flee the labyrinth and make it outside. Zoe immediately contacts emergency services and transports Ben to the hospital. After Ben is stabilized, Zoe returns with police officers to show them the hidden facility. Yet when they arrive, the entire interior appears abandoned and decrepit, as though it has been unused for many years. There are no bodies, no traps, and no evidence that anything she described ever happened. Despite Zoe insisting repeatedly that everything she said is true, the police dismiss her account as stress-induced imagination, especially since the building shows no signs of recent activity. The authorities leave, giving her no support. 6 months later, Zoe contacts Ben again and asks to meet. She reveals she has spent the last several months investigating the so-called accidents linked to the deaths of the other participants. According to official reports, one victim supposedly died of heart failure, another fell off a mountain, another drowned in a lake. Zoe explains that all these reports were fabricated. Every death was staged by the same organization behind the escape rooms. In the final sequence, a new scenario unfolds aboard an airplane where passengers unknowingly participate in another deadly test. Panels slide, compartments seal, and oxygen levels shift in a carefully engineered death trap. It is revealed that this is merely a rehearsal run for the next major game designed specifically for Zoe and Ben. The masterminds behind Minos intend to lure them into this new trap under the guise of their flight to Manhattan. All of the airplane's mechanisms and controls have been altered to ensure no one on board survives. The organization views Zoe and Ben as the next subjects for its continuing series of lethal experiments, confident that they will board the plane exactly as predicted. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gripping movie explanations like this.